A new electoral survey is raising a few eyebrows. The research suggests that 7 out of 10 young voters don't feel the need to support their parents' party. We talk now to Jacqui Greeff, who's the managing director of the research group Answered. Jacqui, good evening. Thanks for coming in.
Hi, Emma.
This is what you conducted was essentially an attitudinal survey of the country's youth, and you focused on the 18 to 29 category, and these are some of the findings. I think what's interesting over the last couple of days or last couple of weeks, we've seen a lot of parties putting a lot of money into their election campaigns. And according to this research, perhaps it hasn't made quite the dent that they might have intended.
Absolutely right. And the differences are what is really interesting here. So the difference between the impact that communication is having on our country's youth, on the youngest voters, the 18 to 29-year-olds, very different impact being felt for the two leaders in the race, the ANC and the DA. So we see very different numbers emerging. And the DA advertising does seem to have struck much more of a chord with these young voters.
If you look at the number, right, 63% agreed the DA's advertising and communication grabbed their attention. Only 22% said that the ANC's campaigning messages grabbed their attention.
A significant difference. Huh?
It is a massive difference.
Yeah.
Did they say why?
We didn't get into that, but we certainly had a few more words and associations. So one of the things that came out, for instance, was the association of the word boring with ANC advertising, much lower for the DA advertising.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and also just in terms of being told what they want to know. They don't necessarily feel that they're hearing what they want to know from the ANC communication, versus a very good reading on that stat for the DA.
Well, that's interesting. It's a pity this research comes so close to the end, because I think a lot of these parties might have benefited knowing about this a little earlier, so they could perhaps have targeted their messages a bit better. I want to go with what we went in with, and this is 7 out of 10 young voters not necessarily voting the way that their parents would. That's quite interesting.
A lot of really stand up and take note numbers that we've seen in the survey. And I think one of the big themes is that the youth are looking to the future. They're not looking to the past. So a lot of the findings are pointing in that route, that they're not necessarily inclined to vote for the same party that their family voted for. They're not necessarily looking to address the same issues as were very important in the last election. So as an example, if we say, to what extent is it important to you that your government is all about redressing the wrongs of the past, which was a big issue in the past, we have an agreement there of 8% of our young voters saying that that's something that is pivotal in their choice of government going
Jacqui,
forward.
I'm interested in the racial demographic with regard to that last statement. I mean, what does it show?
It wasn't actually significant, not a significant difference on race at all. The other big theme coming through with these findings is consistency, and that to me is a hugely optimistic thing, because what we're seeing is that as a demographic, the thought is the same. The action, the need for action is the same, regardless of race, regardless of region or province that they're in. They're actually saying a lot of the same things and asking for the same things. So one of the most consistent needs driving forward is for economic growth. So it's showing that our youth are really thinking about business. They want functional delivery going into the future.
There's more sensibility rather than being emotional. I think also what's interesting for me is that they're high on patriotism but low on confidence in government to deliver that.
A stark contrast to have a look at there. I mean, we have 86% of this segment telling us that they really believe that their vote can make a difference. That's great. That speaks to mobility and action, because they believe they have the power. Versus over 90% of the segment that we're looking at here, telling us that they actually believe that what's happening right now is the right thing. We have 15% only, 15% saying that they believe that our country's leadership is strong at the moment.
That is sad.
A huge statement of mobility and action going forward.
Well, these are certainly interesting numbers, and of course there has been a lot of research over the last couple of months, but we thank you for sharing yours. And like I said, it's we're at the final stretch. It's a bit late, I suppose, for the parties now to change, but certainly in the elections ahead, it would do them well to engage in research like this, so that their message has the optimal impact.
Absolutely. This is more hearts and minds research, which we hope will inform going forward.
Well, thank you for coming in.
Know more. eNCA.com